Committee recommendations first and then move on to others from there. So Kim, as part of the Wage Committee, will be reading the Wage Committee recommendations. As she reads them and finishes them, we will decide on that before we move on to the next one. Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
So Kim?
Okay, so we're gonna, as far as the council, if you have your wage committee handout sheet in front of you, we're gonna start on the second to last page with one item from the sheriff's department, and then we're gonna jump to the auditor's department and go through the sheet as it's listed in our packet.
And then we'll go back to the sheriff's department
Yeah,
after
we're
that.
gonna go back to the sheriff's department later.
So
Okay.
second to last page, Dave.
It says financial administrator.
It's,
Financial administrator.
Sheriff, okay, got it.
Okay.
So the financial administrator in the sheriff's department was updated by WIS, which is Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy, and we reclassified that position. And so because we reclassified that position, it will move to what's called a Comet 1. And so because of that, and because of the role and the duties that that position did, okay, so our recommendation for the wage committee was to follow the Wagner, Irwin, Shealy recommendation to update her classification and update her wage. So do we need to do it on that? Or do you want me to finish all of them?
No, I think we need to address each one as we do it.
So, so the wage committee recommends that we change the classification to Comet 1 for the sheriff, financial administrator, and auditor financial deputies.
well, first off, should we just stick with financial administrator?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry, for the sheriff, financial administrator, yeah.
So the sheriff's financial administrator 11109, reclassification from Comet 2 to Comet 1, which basically means about a $5,000 increase in pay. Any questions on that? If not, I would entertain a motion for that one.
I'll make a motion to approve that change.
Motion by Kathy to approve the change from Comet 2 to Comet 1.
And it's Comet 1-3.
Yeah,
Or Comet 1-3, yeah.
sorry.
So got a motion to approve. You got a second?
Second.
A second by Delenn. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Now we're going back to the first page with
Yeah.
the auditor, correct?
We're gonna go back to the first page, which references the classification of the auditor financial deputies. So what has happened is because the duties are very similar from the last position that we just reclassified to the following positions. And I'm just gonna read the line items. It's 11056, 11057, 11062, and 11063 financial deputies in the auditor's office. We suggest and recommend, because they're doing similar duties, that we change the classification to Comet 1 for the sheriff, financial administrator, and the auditor's financial deputies, which we just did the sheriff, but now we're presenting for the auditor's office.
We're making similar positions the same level, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right, so changing those 4 financial deputy positions in the auditor's office from a Comet 2 to a Comet 1. Do I have a motion one way or the other?
Motion to approve.
So you got a motion by Delenn to approve.
I'll second that.
You got a second by Kathy. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Okay,
Okay, moving to the second page. This was a wage increase that was requested from the coroner's position.
Can you turn your mic on, please? You were loud until right now.
I think I turned my mic off. So, the coroner had requested, a raise. It was higher than what we are recommending. And so we, the wage committee did a study Thank you, Sue Ann, wherever you are. And compared the other coroners with the same county population or similar county population. And the wage committee recommended a $3,000 raise for that position. And so that's why we did it and why we are recommending the increase.
And that $3,000 increase would increase that coroner salary to just over 26,000.
Right. And the average is considerably more, actually, so.
Can we do both these at the same time?
Probably not.
Just stick and do them individually.
Okay. So we got the wage increase for the coroner of 11,018 of $3,000. Wage committee recommendation is this, which is less money than he was asking for, but they did on a comparison study. So somebody want to make a motion either way on that?
Motion to approve that.
They got a motion from Delinn to approve. You got a second?
Second?
Got a second by Kim. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Okay, so moving on to the second item in the coroner's department. We were requested to look at an extra stipend for weekend time called. And it would increase the budget between $2,600 and $5,000. And it just meant that the employee that would be required to work in a work-related situation on the weekends would get an additional $50 on their call. And the wage committee recommended that we do that. So it's up to the council if they would like to approve that or not.
I just thought I'd add too, it's meant to recognize that the employees are required to be available to respond to these calls, so they can't make plans and they, just have to be available. So it's a way to compensate them in the amount of $50.
The deputy coroners are paid per call, but when it's their weekend on call, they cannot do anything else other than be ready to respond, and they may not get a call, so they might get any paid for anything, but to provide the fact they can't go do whatever they wish to do or go out to dinner somewhere because of the on-call status.
I make a motion that we approve the 11078.
It's actually
stipend,
11526.
Or 115, sorry, I looked at the wrong number,
Yeah.
526.
So a motion by Rachel to approve 11526, the $50 stipend. You
I'll
got a-
second that.
you got a second by Kathy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed?
Okay. Or let's see where we're at. Okay. So in regards to the highway department, there was a request for a third staff member. And basically the need is to a dramatic and unexpected change with federal grants and permitting and the workload that they have there. And so the wage committee recommended that we allow the department to look to hire that position.
So new position for an assistant administrative assistant for the highway department. Their permitting and all those things are up like twofold or better.
Yeah,
So the extra staff is there. As Steve did say in his hearing this morning, he'd rather give his employees raises and hire somebody else, but they're at a need that they have to have somebody else.
yeah, and I think the numbers were like 129 permits the entire last year, and currently they are at 430 permits for just this year to date.
And it would be less expensive to hire someone at a lower rate to do that than somebody that we currently have at a higher rate.
Right.
And he just had to retire, right? 2 staff
Yeah.
members?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're down.
Mhm.
Okay. Now we know what that's about. I got a motion one way or the other.
Motion to approve.
A
Second.
motion by Delinn to approve, second by Rachel. Any further discussion? All in favor? On to the recorder.
Yeah. So in regards to the recorder, so the recorder is asking for a $5,000 pay increase for the salary. The chief deputy pay would also increase due to getting 80% of the recorder's wage. The recorder's current wage is $65,992, and the estimated proposed wage is $70,992. And then the chief deputy current wage is $52,228, and it would take it to $794. The reasoning for this, even though we know she does an excellent job, is that she is one of the lowest paid elected officials. So increasing her wage by $5,000 would have her making more, though, than the treasurer. And so because there's a world of difference between those offices, this would throw off our Comet chart and as we try to maintain pay equity. So the wage study would be the best way to adjust the wage because it would look at all the elected officials' positions while maintaining pay equity. So at this moment, we would like to see the wage study come back. So we did not make a recommendation. And our first recommendation was to not do the pay increase. But what we would like to see is we would like to see the wage study come back and then we can reconsider that.
And we have already, I mean, they're in the process of doing the
Yes,
wage study. It just,
Exactly.
it was supposed to come back before now and it didn't.
Correct.
So, but they have started it.
Right.
So your recommendation then is to table this request until we get to the wage study back then? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Well, we'd need a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion to table this request.
Okay, we got a motion by Kathy to table this request until the wage study comes back.
Second.
Got a second by Delenn. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Okay. So moving on to the sheriff's department. So I'm going to read these because it might get a little bit more complicated. And basically what is happening is the sheriff wanted these positions to be what was called civilian poll. But when the wage and their tasks came back, it didn't flow with our pay equity system within that chart. And so we had to go back to Wagner Irwin Shealy and had them factor as an LTC position, which is more of a civilian type position. And so their recommendations were basically changing the classification, which does change their pay. So what we did, our recommendation was for kitchen sergeant jailer 10136. The wage recommendation was $53,850. Item
It's an LTC too.
I'm sorry, it's an LCT 2-2. Thank you. And item employee 10135, kitchen jailer, LTC 4-3 is $50,028. Line item 10176, which is a kitchen jailer, LTC 4-2 is at $47,711. And the item 10178, who is the kitchen officer, which is an LTC 4-3, is at $50,028. And so because we received reclassifications from our HR advising firm, Wagner Irwin Shealy, we recommend that those be reclassified and have the pay adjusted per their classification.
And I'd just like to mention too, that the kitchen officer, the line item 10178 is from the work release fund.
Yeah.
55.
Okay, so we're changing the,
Title.
changing how they're classified to an LTC, different levels throughout on 101, 35, 36, 76, and 78, correct?
Yes, sir.
As recommended by the wage committee.
And
Yes.
WIS.
And
And
WIS,
yes.
yes.
Okay. Sheriff, anything you want to say about it?
No, I appreciate the wage committee looking at it and, stuff that I really, stuff area where we can get caught out, I think the recommendation, build in.
Well, and to add, these people that are in these positions, they're doing more cooking and more supervising at the same time. Some of them are supervising the trustees and they're cooking home type meals, and that's where Jim is able to save money. And so we're really grateful for that. And so we're trying to make sure that we can have you keep those people.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Thanks for saying that. I mean, you're exactly right. Would have been able to have savings without the extra hard work that they put in. There's a lot more time in the kitchen with the trustees, a lot more supervision from the kitchen staff, but we were able to, save a significant amount of the deals. So, thank you.
Okay, so we vote on reclassification. Do I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the reclassifications as stated by Kim.
Okay, we got a motion by Kathy to approve the reclassifications as approved by the Wage Committee and WIS.
I'll second that.
Have a second by Rachel. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, then the last one.
Yeah. So on the reports coordinator, the sheriff had brought to our attention, to get an updated, description, on the reports coordinator, which is item 11106. And we changed the we recommend to change the classification from a Comet 3 to a Comet 2. And the current wage is $41,343. The new estimated proposed wage is $43,007. And it's because we, had the wage reviewed by our HR firm that we recommend to change that classification to Comet 2. And that's our recommendation for the council.
Sports coordinator changed from a Comet 3 to a Comet 2. As recommended by WIS and the Wage Committee, so I would entertain a motion either way on that.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Delenn to approve. Second? Second by Joe? Yep, second by Joe. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, and then there's one more
Yeah.
on
No,
the
there's,
sheriff.
yeah. And so on February 8th, 2026, Brett Stamper will have completed 3 years as a merit officer, and this qualifies her to become a sergeant. So it's item 10049. So what will happen is her title will change from deputy to detective sergeant, and her current wage is $62,014. Proposed wage is $69,740, and this is also a contingent of the sheriff's merit board approving that move to that different officer position. And so our recommendation is to move her when the sheriff's merit board, if and when she gets approved by the sheriff's merit board.
And the sheriff has money in his budget to transfer to cover this cost.
But it wouldn't be till February.
It would not be until February of 2026, and that still has to go through one committee.
So they're approved.
That's right.
Okay, so we got that one.
Oh, we have to vote, right?
So I need a motion either way on reclassification from a deputy to detective sergeant. Again, this is dependent on the merit board approving the promotion and such as we go along. And it's not extra money coming out of general fund. This money's already in the sheriff's budget to be used to transfer.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
A motion by Rachel to approve this,
Second.
second by Kim. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. That now concludes the,
We have
oh,
two more pages.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, wait, yeah, I forgot because we changed.
Yeah.
Started on a different page.
Sorry, yeah.
My fault. So now we're going to talk about the surveyor.
Okay. So our surveyor is asking for his salary to be $71,743. He currently makes $68,392. Base, there's multiple calculations totaling that wage. That would be an increase of $3,351. He's paid approximately $5,100 as of July 12th to an external licensed surveyor. And so that, we had to take that into consideration. And originally, we had voted to make a recommendation, but in further conversation with the council, we have decided to leave this open and let the council have the discussion to see about raising his salary to $3,351.
Jim, is there anything you'd like to say in regards to this?
No, other than I thank the council and Wage Committee for their consideration.
Also, do we have here what your wage was currently
Yeah,
previous? What do you, I don't have that on.
His current's right here, 68.
currently-
No, what he was making before when you were,
yeah. I
before
can,
you were elected official.
I'm with the assistant, approximately $7,000.
Okay.
A couple things to keep in mind on this. Jim is a 10-year employee, so that qualifies him for that 10-year bump. I know one of the considerations that we discussed was the fact that if Jim would not be reelected to that position by either by his choice or getting defeated, we do have to pay the new surveyor 1.5 times the pay we could pay the current one if they are licensed. But because Jim's a 10-year employee, this wage would not qualify for that. It would go back to what the basic wage for the surveyor is for the 1.5 times.
which is a 61,395 base.
Yeah, basically, yes. He has paid $5,100 again to the external licensed surveyor to sign off on things, but because of the elimination of a position in his office from last year, and if he doubles what he's done so far, he's still going to be saving about $50,000 a year.
So that's why we wanted to make sure it was reconsidered.
And I thought Joe brought up a good point about previously about how that we were previously paying the person that did the corner posts, or what, you explained that because you did a good job.
Well, yeah, my understanding, and Jim can help me out on this. Before, previously, we were still having a licensed surveyor come in to help with corner posts. Is that right, Jim?
Talking to your mic a little more.
Because you were doing the
Okay.
work then anyways.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion for account 10022 surveyor to be given the $3,351 increase in his salary beginning in January 1st, 2026, because we cannot adjust an elected official's salary and compensation in the middle of a year.
Second that.
So we've got a motion by Kim to provide the increase of $3,351 for the surveyor for the 2026 year in his budget. We've got a second by Delynn. Any further discussion?
We'd rather, originally, it was not recommended because of the additional it was going to cost if he didn't run again, it would be 107,000.
Right.
Should we consider a stipend for that amount, or you'd rather go for the wage?
So even if we do a stipend, it's still considered compensation.
Correct.
So it
So it wouldn't make any difference.
After checking, Alyssa checked with State Board of Accounts, and if we did a stipend, which we had discussed, any kind of compensation would be considered in his wage, which would be considered for whether
Okay.
you ran for the elected office or for the following year's salary, either increase, can never be decreased. So that was kind of where we were at.
Fair enough. Good.
Any other discussion? So we got a motion and a second for the increase. All those in favor?
Okay.
Next in Jim's
So,
office.
the GIS technician. The job description was added to WIS and refactored. And so we would like to change the title of 11083, which is a GIS technician, to a GIS coordinator, and the change in the classification from the PAT 6 to a PAT 4. Current wage of PAT 6-3 is $50,602. And the estimated proposed wage, because of experience, is PAT 4.3, $57,708. And this was directly from our HR advising firm, WIS. And so we are, from the Wage Committee, recommend to change the title and the wage coordinator to change the classification to PAT 4.
Okay, so we just heard the explanation. We're going to change the classification and the title for the GIS in the surveyor's office. Do I have
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Joe to approve,
Second.
a second by Rachel. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. And now the last one.
Yeah, I think that's the last one.
No, it's the new part-time
We got a
secretary.
Yeah, part-time
I said
secretary.
now
Yep.
the last one.
Within the surveyor's office, we were requested to have a part-time secretary added, and it was factored in as what's called a comment 4, with an estimated proposed wage at a comment 4-1, $38,054. And the department wants this position to help cover the office while it's open, and also learn a position that is, Sandy's going to retire. Is that correct? And so she's going to retire. And so this is just to add to accommodate the office during both of those times. And we put this in the budget. Our recommendation is to put it in the budget, but yet please come back to the council for approval exactly when you think it's going to be needed. Because we don't know if it's like in January 1st or mid whatever. So the wage committee just recommends that we can add this to the budget, but please come back to the council specifically when you're going to proceed. Or that's the recommendation.
The recommendation of the wage committee is put in the budget, come back for the council for the position itself when the time comes that you actually need that position.
Does that need a motion
Yes.
Yes.
to just be tabled basically, or?
No.
No, it's
Well,
it's actually
we're
going to be
gonna-
put in as
we're
To
gonna
be
budget.
put it, we're
It's
gonna
just
put
you
it
won't
in the
be able to
budget.
hire until he
Okay,
gets that
I'll
position.
motion to approve that.
So we got a motion by Rachel to approve. Again, this is approving, putting it in the budget. He does not get to hire until he comes back to us for approval.
I'll second it.
Second by Delinn. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I do have one other thing on wage committee. I forgot to mention this to Kim, but when we were going through our budgets, the prosecutor's office added, somebody, I don't know, they didn't come to the wage committee, but I don't know that they needed to, and I just want to verify that.
I think it was
Because
just,
it was 40 and, it was already in their budget.
I believe.
it was a
if you-
replacement.
I
Yeah.
believe if you remember, I think Rob Bishop came
Oh,
maybe 2 to 3 years ago and asked for that spot, so it had been in the salary ordinance. However, the spot was never filled, so now I believe he's ready to fill that position.
It was a placeholder as a
so we don't need
replacement.
to
yes.
deal
Yeah.
with that.
No.
Because it's already,
It
okay,
wa-
I
yeah.
just wanted to verify that.
Yeah, it was a placeholder.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that completes the wage committee recommendations for new positions or reclassification of positions. Our next step is now to wages for all other county employees that are paid out of county general, basically. And the wage committee has discussed, and I believe they've recommended a 2% increase for all other county employees. As we've talked about many times, there's some effects of Senate Bill 1 that were not felt yet and may not feel for a while. So to be more conservative, we talked originally about a 3%, but I think the rest of the council feels comfortable with the wage committee's recommendation of 2% until we can see what goes on. Does that make sense?
Do we need to,
We'd have to have a motion for that.
Motion to approve the 2%, Tony, as
Okay.
stated.
We got a motion by Delinn to approve a 2% increase for all county employees other than the ones that are addressed in this wage committee study.
Second.
A second by Dave. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Couple other things to address right now. I want to bring this up because it's in the budgets and was pointed out that Sheriff and Steve, you guys both have full amount budgeted for your shared mechanic. That was kind of an error to be put in there, so those will be adjusted, where each of you will pay half of it. But currently in your budget, it's showing you're paying the full one and you're paying the full one, so that guy's making some pretty darn good money based off of that. So that will be adjusted in their budgets to reflect it, that they're each paying their half. The sheriff has come to us in the past to talk about a COLA increase for the sheriff's pension fund. The sheriff's pension fund, as you may or may not know, is a private pension. It is not publicly funded. It is only funded by us on the county level and the deputies that put into it. Unlike the state, where there's state money put into it and those things, the sheriff's pension operates completely different than the other pension. And the sheriff's pension traditionally has never had a COLA built into it. So we've got retired officers from the sheriff's department who have been retired 30 years plus. They're still making the same money they did the day they walked out the door. One of the things that our sheriff is being proactive and all the things he's done, besides all the money he's been saving along the way for us, is to look at trying to get a COLA increase put into the pension to fund future retirees, and he wanted to include current retirees in it too. It asked for a 2 or 3% COLA. Again, with things the way they are, we have discussed it amongst the council, and our recommendation has been that we provide the sheriff with a 1.5% COLA for the time being. We can revisit it in later years. 1.5% COLA for future retirees only. Did not include the current retirees. And if any current retirees are listening to me, we do have an option for current retirees that as long as the sheriff's pension fund stays at least 88% funded, we can give current retirees that are currently retired on the budget a 13th paycheck at 3% of what they would get. So as long as that fund stays above that mark, they would get a 13% or 3%, a 13th check at 3% of what they would get. So it gives them something, doesn't give them much as they could. But on the COLA of the 1.5%, that if that's approved beginning in 26, anybody that retires with that COLA will not be eligible for the 13th paycheck, just the current retirees that are there now. And there's like a dozen. Yeah, somewhere along in there. And those will sunset upon their death because most of them are getting quite old. And then the 1.5% COLA that they would get would be after they've retired with at least 20 years of service, reach their age of 55 in order to draw their pension, and that would last for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, they would no longer be eligible for the COLA.
And that would be the variable with a cap at 1%, 1.5%.
Yeah, so when they were doing the studies on it, they were looking at a 3% variable. We're looking at a variable anywhere between 1% and 3% with a cap of 3%. Could never go higher than that because it could always go less. But those are based on the federal cost of living index. We're not recommending that. We're not following that. We're recommending a 1.5% straightforward right now, and to visit it in later years to see if we can increase that.
Well,
I appreciate
well,
it. If I could,
Sure.
I'm sure you all are tired of talking about it. Obviously, I'm passionate about it. It's been a 2-year project. Answer a lot of questions from the media, got a lot of meetings with you guys, phone calls. Whatever you decide is obviously more than we have now, so we're obviously grateful. And I think I can speak for our staff. We appreciate your time and consideration on what you're able to do now. We do understand, and I make comments to the media at the time, it's not ideal. However, obviously, it's important for us to have recruit and retain those deputies, right? When they come stay and retire. So I think this would definitely help us in that.
So that's kind of what our recommendation is. I think everybody agreed with that, didn't we? So we just need to do it. well, maybe not, but we still need to do it in the form of a motion to accept that. And so we're looking at a 1.5% COLA for future retirees, a 13th check for current retirees at a 3% base, depending on the solvency of the fund.
I make a motion that we approve that.
There's a
as
lot of
presented.
details. There's a lot of details in that, but you're right.
Should we do them individually, like the COLA
There's just,
and then the 13th check, or should we do it all together?
Do it all together is fine, so.
Melissa, does it make a difference?
I believe we should do it separately. Because if we
Okay.
change the cost of living increase for the one, oops, it's gonna, we don't want it to affect the other one.
Okay.
And we also need to make sure that we have very specific details on how it will be handled.
So let's just deal with the 1.5% COLA right now.
Okay, so I'm still stick with that.
So Delenn made the motion to approve the 1.5% COLA for future retirees only.
Which,
I have a second by Rachel on that. Do we have any further discussion? If not,
Is-
all those in favor? Now we can go on with the 13th paycheck. Or if you would like, we can table that until we get a chance to meet with the sheriff, figure out who's exactly on the pension and what kind of money we're looking at overall and revisit that. I don't know when it would start, so
well, we would have to be specific on when it would start and when a person would be on the retirement plan on that particular date, like if it's January 1st, 2026. So I guess my concern is that we need to have a lot of specific situations in place and details before that's my only concern.
yeah, and I agree with, I'm not arguing your point there.
Approve it pending those details.
Yeah. I mean, we can approve the 13th check pending the details. We can work out the details of it. Nothing in this COLA or that 13th check would take effect till 26 anyway, because it's going into the budget for next year. So none of that would take effect. So we would have some time to put that together before our September meeting on what those costs and stuff would look like. I'll be glad to work with Jim and Michelle to put those together.
So you would accept a motion to accept the 13th check pending details?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
88%
So we got a-
funded, yeah.
Motion from Dave to look at a 13th check for current retirees as long as the fund stays at least 88% solvent.
Yes.
Awesome.
And then those details that'll be worked out that we'll bring back by the September meeting.
Which the 13th check is 3% of increase, not a total 13 check, which is
Correct.
I'll second that.
see,
So the 3% would be based off their pension. So if somebody is drawing $20,000 a year in their pension, some of the guys that have been off for a while, their 13th check would be $600. It wouldn't be the full year's worth. It'd be $600 based off that, based off what they draw for the year at 3%. And most everybody is at that or below.
And it
And
would
the-
not be compounding because it'd be
No.
looked at
Correct.
each year.
it
Right.
would be the same amount
It'd be
each
the
year.
same each year, would never
And-
change.
And is that 10 years or is that until death?
That one's probably gonna be till death because most of these guys are getting older.
Well,
One and the same.
Yeah, one and the same.
Well, don't tell them that.
So we got a motion by Dave to approve it. We got a second by, who seconded it?
I did.
Kim, or Kathy.
Kathy, okay.
So
Sorry.
all those in favor? I'm not against, I'm abstaining because I am a member of the sheriff's pension, so I'm gonna stay as neutral with this as I can. So. Okay. Where'd it go? You all received from Judge McGrath yesterday during her budget meeting, the salaries for probation. The salaries for probation these are the mandated salaries put forth by the Judicial Committee, is that correct? Or Judicial Review Committee, yes. So this is what their recommendation. There is an unfortunate level on probation officers since they are considered state employees. They have to follow some of the state rules, and one of the state rules is Governor Braun said no pay increases for them for 26. So even though they're considered state employees, they're paid by our county funds. So we may choose to do whatever we wish to do. But again, they are not going to get any kind of raise in 26, and their raises are normally dependent on what the state mandates for them. There's been times it's been 0 like it is next year, and there's been times it's been 7%. Been a little while since it's been there, but it's been there before. So we've had many discussions about this over the time. There's been discussions about doing stipends for them out of the user fees that they have collected. I didn't see anything, and I could be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, I didn't see anything in there that showed what it would look like with the stipends, did I? I mean, I'm not against doing that. I just wanted to see what it looked like and what kind of stipends you were actually thinking about. I think we talked about that in that one meeting that we all had, and I hadn't seen anything on that yet. So it's up to the council right now to figure out what we're going to do going forward. It can always change. It just can't change. But it have to be finished. Everything would have to be finished before our October meeting because all final changes have to be done by October. So we have the option to accept the 2026 mandated salaries as they are, or we can do the stipend thing if we can get something to show us what it's going to look like and what you're expected to do. We could also give them the same increase we give the rest of the county employees for 26. So we have a lot of options, and it's up to the council to decide what they want to do. I know this has been a contentious and a sore subject, and I want to get it behind us.
Yeah.
Are there any comments? I mean,
Yeah, come up to the microphone, please. And turn it on, please. Your judgeship.
Ultimately,
They can share.
ultimately, council, the 5 of us have met a number of times, obviously, to discuss this issue. And we certainly are respectful of the position that council's in with regards to the budget. However, we have discussed perhaps putting forward a stipend for our probation officers. We've discussed various amounts. I don't know that we've reached a final decision on what that amount will be that we put forward for your consideration, but we are working towards that recommendation now.
And the thing to understand about that stipend, it would not come out of county general funds.
Correct.
It would come out of a fund that's been set aside and designated for that purpose specifically. That presently has around $650,000 in it. So, we are waiting to receive some information from the general counsel of the Supreme Court as far as how to proceed this way, which includes not only the stipend, but also the addressing the issue that's before us that we've had discussions about, the use of that fund. Sure, sorry. The use of that fund to supplant some of the wages that are ordered to be paid by the mandatory minimums.
The 3 of us went down and spoke with general counsel last week.
Okay.
So we're waiting on a response.
Do you think that'd be a timely response?
yes.
Yeah, she said she'd
Expect it
get back
this
to us in the week. I mean, I don't want to speak forward until we get the letter, but the indication we had during our 1.5-hour meeting with her is that she pretty much was reading the statutes the way we did.
Okay.
She just had to clarify some issues that she wanted to research.
Okay.
And so we're waiting to get that letter back from her before we know exactly what her final position is on.
Can you give
I
us,
mean, we want to get this done. We want to get it behind us. All of us want it to be done. but, we really can't go forward till we know what you're looking at on those stipends. So,
Yeah. I mean, do you have any kind of an idea?
Yeah, the number that we've thrown around, I mean, it's kind of it's a year to year, the way we look at it, it's a year to year assessment. What do we think that they should receive in excess of the mandatory minimum versus what type of money was recouped in user fees? What is the balance of that fund? Do we as judges have a use for those funds to enhance probation services in another way? So we see it as more of a year-to-year assessment.
Right.
For this year, the number that we have tossed about that we would, I'm not sure if we were really prepared to make the proposal here today, but I'm happy to do it. And any of the other judges can step in if I misspeak. But probation department, we've indicated how important they are to us and we think what they're worth. We were looking at an across the board $10,000 per probation officer. That would amount to $110,000 of an account that's set aside for that purpose that presently has $650,000 in it right now. So that's what we were looking for 2025.
And it'll be replenished within the next 12 months by additional user fees.
Yeah, and the historical look at the user fees, around $250,000 a year in probation user fees comes back in, is what we're looking at. So if we were to go year to year, we're always going to be recouping the money back through probation user fees.
So,
and could that stipend amount change year to year?
Yes, absolutely. Every year it's a different
I mean,
assessment.
you wouldn't keep it in your
No,
mindset,
it's-
we did this year we go.
No, and like I said, we would take a look at what user fees came in. If it's a down year and the fund's getting lower, that obviously changes things. What percentage raise the probation departments may get from the state because they're tied into our wages.
Right.
Like this year, they got no raise. They won't benefit from the 2% county raise that you provided all of their county employees. So they got no raise coming in. So every year, I think we would look at it, assess it, what's available, what we feel is appropriate, and then come before you and ask you to appropriate the money out of that fund for that purpose.
This would be a year-to-year thing that we
It's
would
a
look at.
year-to-year
Yes.
thing.
And-
It's not like we want this every single year. Every year, we're going to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Because we might have more probation officers, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
may adjust how we think about
What
it.
happens on year one does not have any binding effect on a subsequent year.
I think we need to verify that because I feel like Alyssa kind of looked up stipends
Well-
earlier to this discussion and that we can't actually lower a wage. So once we give them a stipend, I could be wrong there, but I would want to verify that before we.
Well,
Because-
what'll happen is that stipend will go into their wage for the next year. Then if they decide the next year they're gonna do $1,500 instead of $10,000, then that goes to their wage. So you're not ever going to decrease their wage. It's either gonna stay the same or they're gonna ask for an additional stipend.
Okay. in other
or
words,
get it
it's-
from the state.
Or there'll be no stipend and they'll be paid
It'd be nice if they were. court
exclusively
employees
from
paid
the
by state
judicial
like y'all
schedule.
are.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Does
that
that
would
help you?
simplify things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of, but I feel like Sue Ann's did some research on this.
Never reduce
Yeah.
the wage of the probation officers. That stipend is considered a part of their wage, which according to something else Alyssa had received, that amount then would have to be paid to them every year.
It becomes part of their wage.
Yeah, I understand that. So you give them a stipend that considers part of their wage. Next year, they have to make at least the same money. You can't reduce it.
Right.
Right.
You could reduce the amount of stipend, but you're not reducing their
Their
So
salary.
in other words, instead of getting the 10,000, you could
You know,
say,
I don't
in addition,
want,
you're getting 15.
I don't want to say that I have the final answer on this because we delved deeply in this. We can talk to the general counsel of
Right.
the Supreme Court on this issue. But I think there may be a distinction in that the fact that they are not county employees.
Correct.
They are our employees.
Right.
We set their salaries. Okay. So to the extent that we want to offer them X this year and X the next year, I believe we have the constitutional authority to do that and the constitutional authority to reduce it back down to the mandatory minimum, which is set out by the legislature. Now, that's an issue that we can ask the general counsel on because we did not address that issue with her. But I don't think you can compare what happens with county employees with what happens to court employees.
And I get your point on that, Your Honor, that we can't, but I mean, we focus on county employees and county wages. This is a whole new avenue for us. So we're learning as we go.
Well, so are we.
Yeah, as well
That's
as you
why we're
guys.
seeking advice of the general counsel. And like I said, that's not something that we had specifically addressed with her, and we can, if that is a concern of the council, that once it's done 1 year, you're stuck with that. I don't think that logically makes sense, given what the case law says about them being ours and we're setting their salaries, and the fact that the Indiana Board of whatever judicial whatever
Indiana Judicial Conference.
That's the mandatory
Yeah.
minimums
Judicial
every
conference.
year at
Sure.
a different amount, and they're not obligated to stay at any one point. They can go backwards if they want to.
It's not
There's
our
nothing
intention.
that, I don't think there's the same restrictions and problems that you would have with county employees providing stipends as there is with our court employees. Because you're not the ones doing it.
Right.
We are.
Mhm. So you have 650,000 in your user fees now, correct?
Probation, yeah, it's probably a little bit higher, and it's gonna
Okay.
get higher.
And
you
then,
know.
so if they were given $10,000 each as stipend, there's 10 of them then? That would be
11.
11, so that'd be 110,000. Then you put back in each year, you said 120 then?
No, about 250,000.
250 then, yeah, so
Yeah,
really,
historically
you're-
about $250,000.
that's how you
of
keep
user
gaining
fees.
so much
Yes.
in your user fees then. Okay,
And that fund would just, historically, if we know how much has come out of that fund in the
Mhm.
past 15, 20 years,
mhm.
that fund is, I mean, that will grow quite quickly and quite,
Yes,
it'll
that was
just,
gonna be my next question, is that, can that fund then start reducing down where then it comes back on our shoulders
no,
rather than it stay on your shoulders?
no.
Okay,
I think we do need to know whether or not that 10,000 stays there 5 years. If it did, you're talking 130,000, 140,000 per employee. I would totally make a decision.
but it sounds like that if we vote on this, Tony, which we need to move forward, then everything is kind of staying, they're state employees, not county employees. They're pretty much controlling the cards, and it's coming out of their fund, not coming out of our fund. So, and it sounds like that they would keep replenishing that fund. So this would be an ongoing thing, that if we did something like that, and then each year you would expect a stipend from us then to approve you another, or just this one time?
That would depend on year to year. I mean, it's
Okay.
entirely possible that every year, if we take a look at how much raise did probation officers receive from the
Mhm.
state,
Mhm.
how much money came into the fund in user fees? What is the total value of that fund? Do we as judges have another idea to use that to enhance probation services that would require some of those monies? So every year, I think we will all anticipate an independent review of the fund, of the services being provided, and then making a determination per year how much we would come to you and ask to be appropriated to
Mhm.
supplement their wages.
I personally think, I mean, I would want to be comfortable with the fact that it could be reevaluated on a yearly basis.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
also, to have the balances of the funds over time to see, like, I know we have money in it now, but what's the past history of that fund?
I think the past history would be we'd have about close to $3 million in that fund right now if it hadn't been appropriated for other purposes.
Correct.
And if those other purposes are no longer appropriated out of that fund, we see no reason why that fund won't continue to grow. Because we're always going to have people on probation They're always going to have to pay probation user fees. The only way the fund doesn't grow is if we don't have probationers. And that means we don't have crime.
Mhm.
I think, I think that that's probably a pretty safe bet that we're going to continue having crime. And
That's a
having
pretty good dream
probationers.
not to have crime,
So-
yes.
Yeah.
So we
So,
build a bigger jail and just
So-
lock them up.
so
Not put 'em on
your
probation.
thought is, even though the wages are from 61,396 to 87,600, your thought is to just do a blanket X amount of dollars, not a percentage or anything like
Well,
that?
the reason we go with that we proposed the blank amount is because when the mandatory minimums are set, they
Mhm.
have already taken into account the years of service in the bump ups of those. And so we don't want to play that game with them. We just want to give everybody, so there's still going to be a distinction between the higher earners having 20+ years of service versus the lower ones, but they're all just going to essentially be bumped up.
And then but the county also pays all their tax and their benefit situation and matches for their retirements and correct, isn't that correct? So it's not just the 110, would it be the full benefits amount and the full cost of that employee, or just the actual gross amount that you're thinking? Like, you have a gross amount, but don't most of them have health insurance? Or is it through a state plan? Is it through the county plan? Are they on the county retirement plan? Do we match that? So the question I have is, are you looking at
They're not on the
10?
county retirement.
So they're not,
Because they're not county employees.
but do they go through the county payroll and we pay the social security and the federal and the
Yes, by-
state tax?
By statute, you
So-
have to pay the mandatory minimum.
So my question is, are you looking at paying for the total cost of that employee, or just an amount per employee, and then the county actually is gonna pay the taxes and whatever benefits they have? Do you see what I'm
In
saying?
other
There's
words,
a,
like the 10,000.
there's a total cost to an employee, and
Right.
it's not just their wage.
Right.
So my question to the courts is, are you looking at just a wage, or are you looking at the total cost of that employee? Because a person making $90,000 is gonna pay a lot more in tax, and we match that, than a person paying $60,000. So my question is, are you going to pay for the total cost, or just the $10,000 a person?
I think our intent would be to not have to require the county to dip into county general funds for any.
So you'd pay for
portion.
the total cost then?
But there is FICA and Medicaid that.
Yeah,
that would
that's what
have
I'm
to be
saying.
paid
Yeah.
that comes out of our end of it.
And that could be addressed by general counsel when we get that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be our intent to not increase the cost to the county.
Okay.
For the raises.
Okay.
That we would cover it with the fund that's set aside by
Yeah.
statute for that purpose.
That's what I'm hearing you say, is everything's gonna be
So
done
I can
in-house
calculate
with you
that.
guys and not to us that way.
As far as the funding of.
Yeah, exactly.
Of
Yeah.
of the supplements, yes.
Yeah.
So is the stipend that number you threw out there, you're kind of thinking, is that a negotiable thing for the first times? We try things out, see how it goes?
We're not going to sit here and tell you we won't negotiate. However, I think we would, from a perspective of the Indiana Constitution and the clear separation of powers between the executive and the administrative, we don't feel we should have to, but we're willing to, if the council wants to try to negotiate a number.
There's some of the things I look at, even though you guys, it comes out of the probation fees that they collect, doesn't come into it. Other county employees say, well, they got a $10,000 bonus. Why don't I get those things? We
Yeah,
can't afford to
and-
give
and-
those. And it looks bad across.
Understand that concern, but the reality, and I understand it's hard to separate because the legislature, the way they set this up, they're state employees, court employees, but paid by the county. It's kind of like Biomet and Zimmer before they,
Mhm.
you can't, if you're working at Zimmer and Biomet gets a raise, even though you're kind of doing the same stuff.
Right.
You can't say, that's not fair. They don't get that. But you can always change your employment.
Yeah.
Become a court employee. But there are benefits that the county employees get that court employees, especially the probation department, doesn't always get, like the 2% raise. They don't get that. So this idea that, oh, we got to maintain fairness because other county departments are going to say probation is not technically a county department. They're not. And I know it's easy to see them as that, but the reality is that they're not. And so it's not fair to compare.
Right, no, I'm not saying it's fair, but I mean, we will get that.
You will get that, but the response is understand, but they're not county employees. It's not a county department.
Take the microphone, Tammy.
Can I just say one thing? I think we also need to remember that, and it may not have anything to do with this, but we have 2 open positions now
That's right.
that has been budgeted in the county general that has not been, it's
Right.
appropriated, but it hasn't been paid out.
2 years, right?
Well, we've had 1 since February
Right,
and 1 since June.
right.
So the money is there for a position that has not been. So just if that makes any, I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but that is, money's been appropriated that has not been used for this year.
And it shows 2 vacant positions.
Yeah.
Yes, we have 2 vacant positions.
And you're actively trying to fill those?
We've had a couple interviews, but I am not at a point where I'm gonna hire somebody just for the sake of filling it. We've done that before. It hasn't worked.
Sure.
We have to get the right person for those positions.
I guess my question for you is, I know we've drugged this on, but since you guys haven't exactly got all the information you need, would you be really bummed out to table it till you get that and can verify some of this stuff?
And we have
do
till
we-
September 11th,
do-
actually a little bit before that, but to be able to get.
Especially
That's not
since
very-
you're talking about negotiating.
Well, or we could make a recommendation
That's right.
and we can make a proposal with certain exceptions or certain things, stipulations in place.
Well, the other question I was asking Tori is that what's negotiable and what was and would be acceptable to you so we can put this behind us and still vote on it to where we still got till September the 11th to be able to make the concrete decision.
Yeah, negotiating stuff is always, I mean, I haven't had to negotiate things since I went on the bench, but I did plenty of it when I wasn't. So I understand that process, and it can be long, it can be drawn out, and that's certainly not what we want. And I think that what we would ask the council is to understand that we deal with the issues involving probation department every day. And we understand the difficulty they have in hiring good people to come do the job at the wage that's set by the mandatory minimum. And at some level, ask you to trust us that we know what they're worth.
Can I make a motion?
You may.
So I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to allow the judges to do the stipend up to the 10,000 per person, all inclusive of all the cost of the employee. On the condition that, one, it's not a locked-in mandatory salary. You guys are gonna find that out, right? And 2, it comes out of the fund, the fees fund, and it will be evaluated each year, and it's totally standalone. And it would be upon you guys to give us the information and to trust you, as you say, that we're not gonna be on the hook for that or any cost of that. And, it's a one-time thing. I mean, obviously, each year we can evaluate anything.
And like I said, our intent is to provide probation officers a bump above the mandatory minimum, which the back page of the mandatory minimum, which is handed out every year, indicates that we should give them a salary increase based upon their expertise and their years of service. And we want to do that without costing the county an additional tax dollar. We want to do it completely out of the fund that's set aside for that purpose. But we're not going to come to you at any point and ask that you throw county dollars at a wage increase where we've got a fund that is set aside for that purpose. That doesn't make any sense to us to do that.
So
So you're accepting today then and agreeing, even though you don't have the information back from the state, but you will accept a 10,000 then stipend.
So Kim's motion, if I'm correct, I'm gonna read it, go back to it. Kim's motion is to allow the judges to give each of the probation officers a $10,000 stipend.
Up to.
Up to,
Up to.
up to 10,000, all inclusive, which would include FICA, Medicaid type things and so on. And it'd be revisited every year. It's not a continual ongoing. It's a once a year review, bring back before the council. Is that correct so far, Kim?
Yeah, it's a one-time thing. And then each year we can revisit it. We don't even have to say that because we're not working on 27, so.
And
And it's
then
also all funded by them.
it all funded by them, pending the approval from the general counsel of the Supreme Court, or the information waiting for the general counsel from the Supreme Court. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion. I have a question. So the FICA, that would just be from the 1,000, like anything
Any
above the
amount.
mandatory minimum.
Any amount
I mean,
that-
we're always gonna pay FICA Medicaid on your
up to
mandatory
your,
minimum.
yeah,
Okay,
on your,
there you go. That
right.
was my question.
I'm just
Okay.
saying on that
And we're always
10,000.
gonna be on the hook for
Okay.
that. That's
So-
not gonna change.
So
Okay.
we're,
But a big bump like this is gonna change all that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
You're saying that cost of the employee
yes,
and cost of the employee, you're saying benefits as well?
Yes.
That include health insurance?
absolutely. It includes anything that the county pays. Anything that the county pays. That's a total cost. Yep. Total cost of the employee. Yeah,
So if
that's what I'm
So if you're
inferring.
giving them a $10,000 stipend, they might get 9 of it, and 1,000 of it goes toward health insurance, FICA, Medicaid, things like that.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I agree, but I'm not sure how health insurance changes based upon their salary.
Well,
Well, our
I
health
don't know
insurance-
how that,
I don't either.
right. All I'm
exactly,
saying is
but
the
health insurance
cost
is
of
going
the
up- Our
additional
health insurance premiums
income.
are going up 40% next year.
Well, I understand they're going up, but they're not
Yeah, but-
wage dependent.
Right, it's not
Florida
wage
State or
dependent. You're
Colorado.
correct.
If they got the stipend, correct. The cost to an employee, for an employee is higher, whether or not they have a stipend or not.
Okay, based on all that information, I'll second Kim's motion.
So we have Kim's motion. Everybody understand Kim's motion? And Delenn's seconded that motion. Is there any further discussion on it? Dave, anything? Use your mic, Dave.
I'm not totally sure I heard all of it, understood it. They go up to $10,000 as long as it doesn't cost the city money.
Yep.
And what about I did not hear if that adds to the base every year or whether this is just a one-time
It's a
thing?
one-time deal and they're going to check to make sure that it's not something that's we're compounding that has year over year. They're going to check that with the general counsel and come back to us and verify what they're saying that they believe is correct. And it's only good if what they're saying is correct, which that was what they were led to believe. So
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I'm uncomfortable with the fact that we don't have all that information, to be honest. You know, I know nobody wants to table it, but I would like to just have all that information so we know exactly what we're saying yes to, so that we don't get ourselves in a,
but we don't know what
But they're-
1.5%
they're
COLA
agreeing
is.
that
We
they'll be
don't,
Satisfied with the 10,000 and it stops there.
Well, I think the worst case scenario, what I'm hearing is, so let's say you vote to do this and we find out, oh my gosh, we're stuck, we can never go backwards. Well, if that's the case, I don't think you're ever going to get us coming back asking for more, because every year they're going to get 10 out of the 250. They're going to get 10 on top of the mandatory minimum. It's still going to come out of the same place.
only if you ask for it though. You're
Well,
only
yeah,
asking
we
for
have-
1 year,
right, we have-
correct?
But, right, you know, but if, you know, the concern is, well, if we do it this year, then it's stuck, we're stuck every year with it. Well, then we won't come back and ask for anything more if that were to happen. But like I said, I think it doesn't make sense to me that we're going to be told, but I could be wrong, that yes, if the council does it once on this, they're stuck with it because it's not your typical county employee getting a raise. It is a court employee, and the courts are responsible for setting the wage. So I don't know how that could bind you to do something when they're not even you're technically your
And,
employee.
and wasn't the motion contingent on that, Kim?
But the motion was
Yes,
contingent on that, so
it
it
was.
really, it,
Yeah.
it plays no part because
We're
you're
good,
gonna
Kathy.
come
The
back and
motion
say
was
yes or
contingent.
no, and then we can say yes or no.
Yeah.
It's pretty cut and dry.
That's why I seconded her
Yes.
motion. 'cause it
Time out,
was-
time out. Too many side
Contingent on
conversations,
their-
too many side conversations here. So you're waiting for the information to come back from General Counsel of the Supreme Court. I would ask as soon as you get that, if you can get it to Alyssa, then she can get it out to the rest of us right away. So we have a chance to review it. His budget, I mean, today's our actual final budget thing, but we can still cut, make adjustments and all that, all the way up to our final adoption in October. But we have our first reading of the budget, the September 11th meeting. It's got to be advertised before that. It's got to be sent to DLGF before that. So time is of the essence on getting this done.
With that, Tony, I'd call for the vote.
Yep, I'm going to. So we have a motion to accept based on Kim's. We got a second by Delenn. All those in favor? Opposed? And hear me out, my opposal is nothing against probation officers. I like them all. I've known them all. I just think the $10,000 is too high.
And mine is because I would really like to have the final numbers and know for sure what I'm voting on specifically. So I support you guys too.
I kind of laugh about this because I'd like to have had a job that made that kind of money.
Got openings.
I never made that kind of money. I never made that kind of money in any of my jobs.
Just need a degree, right? You just need a degree.
You want a job,
We've
come-
got two
Degree,
openings.
yeah.
You can apply.
No. I don't have the right degree. All right, anything else?
I just want to say thank you for your willingness to come and talk through all of this. I know it's taken a lot of time, but I appreciate the transparency and kindness at the table and everybody working together.
And I hope the public picked up on the fact that this is not coming out of anything from the county and it's all coming out of their user fees.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for your patience. Turn the microphone off. Thank you. Well, I'm not done talking.